Hello again, loved ones. This is Matt Stevens, and I hope you're doing super fantastic. I really do. And, a lot of people will talk about how we've all been duped, we've been bamboozled, or whatever, right? And a lot of people, and pretty much everybody will agree. They're like, yeah, we have, yeah, everything's been whatever. And then we'll continue thinking about, well, it's the government, the governments of the world, or the elites, or maybe even go so far as to say the cabal or the ruling class have done this to us, and we are victims of them. And knowledge is power, though, right? And we've got to learn to fight back. Well, really, that's just a very small portion of that. And unfortunately, the human collective, as I've said many times, are on that negative trajectory. They have been lulled asleep, okay? And they are just going about their business as usual. What I mean is that the human collective, made up of 7 billion people, apparently, supposedly, whatever, we'll go with it, that's fine. Made up of 7 billion people, 95% of which, 95%, depending upon who you ask, of which are completely asleep, completely unconscious. They just go through the motions on autopilot all day, every day. Right? What do we usually say? We produce, we consume, we obey. And reproduce and die. That's pretty much all we are expected to do. But when you look at society, you realize how addicted humanity are to negativity, to fear, to anxiety, all of those negative emotions. I mean, there are whole industries, there are whole holidays built around fear. And fear is a very negative, very low vibrational state. But whatever state we're in, we emit vibration ourselves. We are very vibrational creatures. In fact, that's all we are, is a vibration. Now, in this construct where our soul, our higher self, our true self is on the outside and it is projected in to this body, just like if you were in a video game, it would be yourself playing this avatar on the screen. It's just like that, except this is a virtual reality that's much more immersive, much more advanced than that. But when we are in this, our soul is in this, and we have to come into this realm, into this life, forgetting what we really are. Because if we came into this knowing, well, I'm a very powerful immortal being on the outside of this, and I'm just here to have an experience, well, there wouldn't be a whole lot to it, because you would understand that you are able to manipulate energy in the quantum field and make things happen. But why are we not taught that? Because that is very much, we very much do have that power. We very much do have the ability to do that. So why are the masses kept in the dark of this? Why can't we know this? Why is it so important to keep the masses in the dark so that they do not realize they can transcend, they can rise above all this fear and anxiety. They can have abundant lives. And I'm not just talking about financial abundance. I'm talking about health, wealth, happiness, the whole everything. Why are we kept in such low vibrational states? Is it to keep us as good humans so that we continue to produce and consume and obey, reproduce and die? Yeah, that's a big part of it. It is. It's so that you don't ask questions. Just do your job. Produce, consume, obey. But there is even deeper than that, because there are higher forces involved. There are other forces involved, such as what the Gnostics refer to as the archons. Some people would call them demons. It's not important, or the jinn for that matter. That's not important. But the archons, titles are not important. The archons are very important. It's very important to understand the concept of the archons and what the purpose of them, or what they are here to do. But what they do is they keep us in that low vibrational state. Now, I do believe that there is a ruling class. There is that cabal, right? The people in the elites of the world, who are also just as human as we are. However, they, maybe through their bloodlines, maybe through, for whatever reason, that part I don't know, but they are in the know. They are in communication, in cahoots, I suppose, with these archons. Not necessarily direct communication, but through their bloodlines, through their upbringing, through their secret societies and all of that, they have been clued in to how this really works. You see, back in the medieval times and all that, when they would do human sacrifice, they would sacrifice a victim in a very, as I've said before, a very messed up way. And we, the stupid masses, we always assumed, well, taking that life, that's the offering to this God. No, the life itself is not what is the offering. The terror and the fear emitted by that victim in that state, that is the offering. And then you can get really dark with it. We can get very dark with a lot of this cult stuff. And you can say, well, okay, so this poor victim is scared senseless and is emitting this fear, this vibration of fear and terror. And that is a feast for these archons. A vibration that the victim is emitting. And then those in the know, those who are, I guess, performing this ceremony or ritual or whatever you want to call it, they then consume I'm not going to get too graphic here, but they consume that. And it's said that the adrenaline released by the body into the bloodstream when they are in that state causes a high effect. And I'm not getting too much into the weeds on the conspiracy theory stuff there. I do think there's a lot of truth to it. I don't think that those things would be in the field at all, or in the collective consciousness at all, if there wasn't something there that would have put it there in the first place. But anyway, so these archons, it is definitely in their interest to keep us in these lower states. You see, now with mass media, with broadcasting and all that, they can broadcast movies. They can broadcast the news media, for that matter, just broadcast enough fear and anxiety to where they keep the masses, not just one victim. They're able to keep the masses, the billions, these 7 billion unaware, in these very low vibrational states, emitting that low vibrational energy that they then consume. That's their sustenance. That is what explains the whole ritual sacrifice stuff. That was those of us that just never knew any better, we always thought that the life taken was the sacrifice. No, or was the offering. No. That energy of fear and terror, that was the offering. Now we're keeping people in fear and anxiety through the news media, through entertainment, through so many ways, by keeping people strapped with debt. So now they're in worry, constantly emitting this low vibrational energy, this called Loosh. And it's like, well, that's great, Matt, but what can I do with that? As I've said before, knowledge is your best friend. I don't know if I've said that exactly, but awareness is key. Once this fact is brought into your awareness, now you're aware of, Well, now it makes sense. Now, not only I mean, we already know that these things happen, but now that you understand why, it's like, wow, now it makes a lot of sense. I really need to get, now that I'm aware of this, now I can become proactive in making sure I do not emit that low vibrational energy, that sustenance, that loosh. So therefore, I will be of no use. Maybe you'll be kicked out of the construct. Most people would say they would like to be kicked out of here. I made a video, my last video back was about that, though, about how we need to learn to appreciate and enjoy our time in this construct. Even though there are all that other stuff is going on, that doesn't mean that life cannot be beautiful, because it absolutely can be. We're surrounded by beauty. We're surrounded by love. We're surrounded by lots of things that are just amazing. But when we're lulled to sleep with the masses, the human collective, that's when it gets dangerous. Now, we as individuals separate ourselves from that. We say, I am an individual unit of consciousness and I'm going to go my own way. And that other 7 billion divine sparks, all of them individually, but they act as one unit of consciousness. I don't know what to say about them. We can't save them all. I mean, we just can't. Hopefully, though, we can be examples to other individuals so that they will then separate themselves from it. That's the best we can hope for as far as saving humanity, really. So anyway, loved ones, I just want to bring that to your awareness. I mean, I would encourage you to stop watching the news. Stop watching all this fear-based entertainment stuff. But if you do, at least understand. Go into it with the understanding of, this is what's happening. I'm not going to allow this to dominate my vibration. I'm going to keep my vibration up. I realize how much beauty there is. It's not all about fear and anxiety. So anyway, dear loved ones, please give me a like on this video. If you have not yet subscribed to this channel, please do so. I am figuring out my streaming thing. I think I'm going to have to get a better camera. This camera's okay, but in order to stream on my computer, the camera on that is garbage, so I'm going to have to get a different camera for that. And then we're going to start streaming more. I think I'm going to stream, I may stream even this evening from this. But on that one, I will be able to share a lot of really cool stuff on the screen as we go through the video and things like that, or the stream for that matter. But anyway, that's what I got for you, loved ones. I do love you. I really do. And I'll be back directly.